our region keeps finding ways to support Ukraine from thousands of miles away.
On Sunday, someone put up this sign that reads President Zelensky Way outside of the Russian embassy to honor the president of Ukraine. Just one of the many ways locals in our region are showing their solidarity with that Eastern European nation. At Adams, Oregon, they fundraised for Chef Jose Andreas' nonprofit that's currently cooking meals for the people of Ukraine.
We can raise money for the World Central Kitchen and do what little bit we can for the people of Ukraine.
The effort meant a lot to Ukrainian-American musician Ted Onyulak and former Hungarian ambassador to the U.S., Andres Chimoni.
I was 4 years old when the Russian tanks rolled into my hometown.
People now have like 4 or 5 days without electricity, 3 or 4 days without water.
They're not surprised by the goodwill of locals.
I see a lot of solidarity.
It seems everyone is doing something for Ukraine too. Ryan Stitt was biking past the Russian embassy when he saw a man who identified himself as world-famous cellist Yo-Yo Ma performing. Yo-Yo Ma later performed the Ukraine national anthem Monday night at the Kennedy Center.
The thing I remember him saying was, everybody has to do something.
The Russian embassy will soon see a lot of blue and yellow too. That's because the Glover Park Hotel across the street will soon unfurl a 60-foot-long Ukraine flag off its facade.
Glover Park and Georgetown, we want our voices heard.
The hotel plans to unveil that flag Wednesday, and it will hold a fundraiser too. John Henry, WUSA 9.
Happening right now on WUSA 9 News at 6, a heartbreaking story in Fairfax County. Police say a young woman was killed by a drunk driver. The suspect, a DC leader.
You killed a 20-year-old, my niece, a cousin, a friend, a sister, a daughter.
Hear from the victim's family in a story you will only see right here.
Then the verdict is in. A jury decides the fate of the first Capitol riot suspect to stand trial.
And a first-hand account. We talk one-on-one with Virginia Congressman Jerry Connolly just hours after returning home from a trip to the Ukrainian border.
Yellow weather alert on Wednesday. We'll tell you what these threats mean in terms of impacts, and we'll talk about the possibility of snow over the weekend.
Live from the district, this is WUSA 9 News at 6.
And first up at 6 tonight, 2 new and big developments related to the Capitol riot. New charges and a guilty verdict. Thank you for being here with us. I'm Lorenzo Hall.
And I'm Charlotte McBride. I'll start with investigative reporter Nathan Baca. He's live at the courthouse where a jury has found the first riot suspect to stand trial guilty on all counts. Nathan?
Well, Charlotte, this verdict was quick. Just 2 hours of deliberation from 10 a.m. to the noon lunch break. In fact, the verdict arrived so quickly that Guy Reffitt's wife, Nicole, didn't even have time to get back to the courthouse in time to hear the verdict being read.
One juror who didn't want to be identified saying the lack of defense witnesses and the testimony of Guy Reffitt's own teenage son against his father were, quote, pivotal. The jury decided Guy Reffitt is guilty of 5 federal counts. Those are transportation of a firearm, obstruction of official proceedings, entering a restricted area while armed, obstructing officers, and threats to obstruct justice. Prosecutors say Guy Reffitt threatened his own son Jackson, who turned him into the FBI. Nicole Reffitt is Guy Reffitt's wife.
Today is a hard day for my kids, and Jackson included. Jackson is a part of our family, and I know that he is hurting along with us. We may be hurt, but we're not down.
Prosecutors convinced the jury that Guy Reffitt was the, quote, tip of the spear of the mob that breached a Capitol Police line January 6th. While he never touched or threw anything at officers, prosecutors showed video of Reffitt rallying a crowd to surge past officers after he was downed with pepper spray. The jury agreed with prosecutors that Reffitt was armed with a hip-holstered handgun while on Capitol grounds. Handguns are illegal in D.C. without a permit, which Reffitt did not have.
Guy was used as an example today to make all the 1-6ers take a plea. Do not take a plea, 1-6ers. Do not. We got this.
Guy Reffitt's sentencing hearing begins June 8th. For each one of those obstruction charges, he faces a maximum of 20 years in federal prison. Reporting live from the D.C. Federal Courthouse, Nathan Baca, WUSA 9.
Jury sure did work through this one quickly. Nathan, thank you. And here's another Capitol riot case for you tonight. Enrique Itario, the self-proclaimed former leader of the far-right group Proud Boys, has been indicted on conspiracy and obstruction charges. That's according to the Justice Department. You're looking at video of police arresting Itario this morning in Miami. This comes nearly 2 months after he was released from the D.C. jail. You might remember that. Itario was sentenced to 5 months after pleading guilty to stealing and burning a Black Lives Matter banner from a historically black D.C. church. He also pled guilty to bringing a loaded gun to D.C. before that riot. Itario was not at the Capitol on January 6th. We should point that out. He also denies that he or his group organized any violence at the Capitol. And WUSA 9, we have a team dedicated to covering the Capitol riot investigations. Just point your phone's camera at that QR code to sign up for our Capitol Breach newsletter. We'll email you updates every week, and then when big stories break, you can also sign up on our website, WUSA9.com.
Well, you are looking live at the White House, where President Biden took another drastic step to weaken Russia's economy. The U.S. is now banning Russian oil and gas imports into the country. The administration had been reluctant to make the move out of concern over soaring gas prices. But the White House has been under increasing political and public pressure to enact the ban. A new national poll shows the majority of Americans say they support the decision, even if it means paying more at the pump.
Americans have rallied to support their Ukrainian people and made it clear we will not be part of subsidizing Putin's war. We made this decision in close consultation with our allies and our partners around the world, particularly in Europe.
The United Kingdom says it will phase out Russian oil by the end of 2022. Moscow says it may shut off the flow of natural gas to Europe in response to sanctions. Virginia Congressmember Jerry Connolly has just returned from a fact-finding trip to the Ukraine-Poland border. Connolly says an estimated 2 million people have escaped from Ukraine into Poland since the start of the Russian invasion. While at the border in Poland, Connolly and others from a congressional delegation spent time at a refugee camp. The congressman described for us what he saw there.
And they're suffering trauma, they're suffering dehydration. It was very cold. It was 30 degrees, but it was a raw cold. And they're all outside. They're getting warm food, but they need, shelter quickly. It was you're witnessing a humanitarian crisis.
A crisis Connolly says all caused by Vladimir Putin.
You made the wrong decision. You got into a car. My niece did not deserve to die the way she died.
Yeah, your heart really breaks for that family there. The family of a DUI crash victim sending a strong message to the suspect. That suspect is Devon Lacine. The 31-year-old is a D.C. Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner. That crash happened Saturday night on I-495 near exit 174. Police say Catherine Reyes was inside of her car and parked on the shoulder when Lacine hit her. Now, we spoke with Reyes' family about their loss. It's a story you will only see right here on WUSA 9. Here's Matthew Torres.
I miss her coming home. I miss her smile. I miss her saying, "Hey, Tia, I am home." Now I don't get that.
It's been 3 days since Chris Irahita's 20-year-old niece died in a wreck on 495 near the Eisenhower Avenue connector. Catherine Reyes was on the shoulder because of a flat tire. State police say there were flares lined up and her hazard lights flashing when a driver crashed into her.
I remember telling her that, help is on the way. I'm coming. Stay by.
Catherine's brother was the last person to speak to her. He was on the way to help but arrived to a fiery scene. A witness sharing this cell phone video to the family of her car in flames. The other driver was arrested for DUI, manslaughter, refusal to take a breathalyzer, and driving on the shoulder.
You killed a 20-year-old, my niece, a cousin, a friend, a sister, a daughter. Everybody's best friend.
WUSA 9 discovered the driver charged is 31-year-old Devon Lacine. He's a newly elected Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner and chair of Ward 8D. He serves as vice president of the D.C. Young Democrats and was a liaison for the mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services.
These are things that people shouldn't, keep secret.
Commissioner Olivia Henderson, who is in the same district, was not aware of the arrest until we told her. She describes Lacine as a stand-up guy, but disappointed about the allegations.
I'm very shocked that even for him to even put himself in a situation like that, it just doesn't seem like the character of Devon Lacine.
Yes, he might have, been a good man, but the fact is that you made the wrong decision. You got into a car. My niece did not deserve to die the way she died.
A person at his listed address says he was not there and had no comment. Hours earlier, a judge granted him a $2,500 bond, issuing a supervised release, ankle monitor, and no consumption of alcohol.
My niece is not worth $2,500.
Catherine comes from a big family and was extremely close to her cousins. As they demand justice, they're also remembering her as a positive and loving person.
No matter how hard things got, She's the type of person that always keep a smile on her face.
The family has set up a GoFundMe to help with funeral expenses, a memorial right by the crash site, and even an Instagram account calling for justice. Lassine's next court appearance is scheduled on April 19th. In Alexandria tonight, Matthew Torres, WUSA 9.
Matthew, thank you so much. And we did reach out to the mayor's office, the Advisory Neighborhood Commission, and to Lassine himself, as you saw Matthew there knocking on a door, asking for comment. We have yet to hear back. We'll let you know when we do. Okay, I want to go back to the war in Ukraine for a second and its impact on us here. If we get only a fraction of our oil from Russia, why are gas prices still soaring? We'll verify next. But first, hey, Top.
Good question. Okay, for us, here comes the rain. We just caught our breath today. Rain already now in much of the deep south, Atlanta, back into Georgia and back into Alabama, Mississippi, and this is all heading our way. We don't have that much cold air, so we're looking at essentially a cold rain. So we have a yellow weather alert tomorrow. The main threats are just rain. A little bit of snow possible north and west. We'll come back and talk about that. High winds are off the table. Flooding is off the table. Is on the table, but rather low. We'll come back. We'll tell you what those impacts are, what those threats, and we'll talk about the possibility of some snow over the weekend.
Many gas experts blame the increase in prices on the war in Ukraine, but only a fraction of our gas supply comes from Russian oil. So why are prices so high? Matt Gregory is in Northwest to verify.
From our experts and our research, we found that the United States only gets a small fraction of its oil from Russia, but we don't need to import any Russian oil for it to affect our prices because, as we found in the oil game, it's all from the same barrel.
In several emails, viewers asked us, if the U.S. only imports a small fraction of crude oil from Russia, why are U.S. gas prices rising? Well, let's verify. To explain, we went to the U.S. Energy Information Administration and two fuel experts, Patrick Dahan from Gas Buddy and Sasha Mackler from the Bipartisan Policy Center. It might be hard to believe, but the U.S. and Russia are both in the top 3 of oil producers in the world.
While we do produce an enormous amount of the oil that, on a volumetric basis, that we consume, we are also sending a lot of oil overseas, and we are also importing.
According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, in 2021, the United States imported about 3.3% of its crude oil from Russia. Really, not much at all. But that doesn't factor into the price of oil.
It doesn't really matter necessarily how much oil any country is producing itself and consuming, internally, because the price of oil is really set, on a global basis.
Oil's cost is measured based on the global supply. So any supply disruption anywhere in the world will affect the cost of oil. However,
it's important to note that we actually haven't seen a supply disruption right now. What we're seeing happen in the oil markets is nervousness around a potential supply disruption.
So to sum it up, oil's price is measured across the globe. Any supply disruptions or nervousness anywhere causes the price to go up. And since gas is made from oil, gas prices go up with it. With Verify, I'm Matt Gregory.
A little gratitude goes a long way. Up next, we'll take you to a touching reunion between a Virginia veteran and the first responders that saved his life. You won't want to miss this. All right, you have to check this out. First responders in Fairfax County were honored today for saving a man's life. He's a retired Air Force colonel. He was injured after his gun malfunctioned back in January. Today, he got the chance to thank his rescuers personally.
So I don't have the words to say thank you. That's not enough.
Holding back tears, retired Air Force Colonel John Leach says he still can't believe what happened to him earlier this year, even as a survivor of the 9/11 attack at the Pentagon.
I was 75 feet from the impact point, and I just come out of a meeting with a couple of my friends. They went to their office, I went to my office. They were killed, and I thought that was the biggest event of my life. And it took years to kind of come to grips with that, kind of survivor's guilt. And then this happens.
In January, Leach was cleaning an heirloom Colt 45 from World War II when the gun misfired. The round hit his left hand and left thigh, bursting an artery.
I lost 2 liters of blood. I was dying on the floor.
I got one glove on. We walked in, and I couldn't believe what we were looking at.
Fairfax County police officers Scott Bates and Houston Lamper, as well as Leach's wife Elaine, took immediate action to help stop the bleeding, using Leach's belt as a makeshift tourniquet.
It honestly felt like we were doing it for 5 minutes. In truth, it was probably less than a minute or 2 minutes.
Then came the rush to the hospital.
It was like derby cars on I-66 and 495. I don't remember any of that.
Leach survived and got to thank everyone involved at a ceremony at Public Safety Headquarters in Fairfax. Officers Bates and Lamper, along with Mrs. Leach, received awards for their efforts. First responders emphasized working together is key when seconds count.
All lives saved are a team sport. No one can do this on their own, and we can all do this together. And this is a wonderful example of how a team can come together and lead to such a life saved.
To see him up walking around and talking to all of us, it definitely goes to show that the teamwork does come together when times matter, and that's the results right back there.
I feel like I'm in the company of real heroes. I love these guys. I love them for what they did.
First responders in Fairfax County are hosting a Stop the Bleed, Save a Life event on Wednesday, March 23rd at Chantilly High School. To register, you can find a link at our website, WSA9.com.
Always doing important work, too.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah, okay. Yellow weather alert. Tomorrow's going to be a bit nasty, huh?
Tomorrow's going to be miserable. I mean, it's, heard of cold November rain, cold March rains tomorrow. A little bit of wet snowflakes possible well north and west, and we'll talk about that in a second. But first thing I want to talk about is our next big event, which is going to be Saturday. And this is going to be rain, but looks like it's going to end as snow. Now, we talked about this yesterday. We had flurries or snow showers in the forecast, so it has changed a little bit. It's evolved a little bit, if you will. What does that mean? Well, we could see some accumulating snow as it turns to snow on Saturday. One thing will not change. I think it's pretty much a given. We're going to see strong winds gusting at least to 40, and we'll see falling temperatures throughout the day. So if you wake up Saturday morning, it'll be maybe upper 30s, low 40s. It'll be in the upper 20s by the time we get to evening. Now, some snow could be on the roads because of that. Even though it's been so warm and it's going to rain tomorrow, yes, it's possible to have a little bit of snow on the roads. Now, this is one model. This is the GFS model. 6 a.m. on a Saturday, nothing. Noon on Saturday, a little bit of snow west of I-81. And then at 5 o'clock on Saturday, 0.3 and 1.8 up in Frederick. This is just, and I mean just come in. I'm seeing this for the first time. This was earlier, 2 inches in D.C., up to 6 inches in Frederick. So it has snow. It just has less snow. So I think we're going to see flakes, no doubt about that. The question is, will we see any accumulation? This is the European model, nothing at 6 o'clock in the morning, but by 11 o'clock in the morning it has an inch in Leesburg, and then by 6 o'clock at night it has 2 inches in D.C., even some snow in southern Maryland, according to the European model, and 3-4 inches up near Frederick and out toward Hagerstown. So the timing seems to be the same for both models. Turns late morning into the afternoon. All right, so back to tomorrow and tonight. We're okay tonight. Last walk after dinner, you're fine. It's dry, but then rain rolls in here by about 2, 3 o'clock and continues. It becomes heavy in the morning, actually. It's a pretty big storm system in terms of the amount of moisture it has. And notice it's all rain, a little tiny bit of snow in through portions of Missouri. That's it. Mainly it's a rain event. So yellow weather alert for us. We're going to see rain, maybe some snow Hagerstown west, and then partly cloudy on Thursday. Friday's okay. Clouds come in, but it's a dry day, and temperatures still in the 50s on Friday. So in terms of impacts from our threats, school activities could be affected, the after-school activities tomorrow. Morning commute, definitely a mess. Just set your alarm 10 minutes earlier. Flooding, low, but on the table, and power outages low, but on the table. So here we are at 10 o'clock. It's just cloudy with temps in the 40s, and then boom, here comes the rain. See the flex at yellow? That's moderate rain. The orange down here is moderate to heavy rain. Bad news is it occurs during the rush hour. The good news is it begins to thin out by afternoon. So yellow weather alert tomorrow for the rain. A bit cool on Thursday. Afternoon clouds on Friday, but dry. And then Saturday, temps plummet. Rain could add to snow. Very cold on Sunday. That's not going to change. Neither is the fact we need to push forward our clocks 1 hour, go back to daylight saving time. But then, look, it can't stay cold long here. Monday, Tuesday, we're back to 60.
WUSA 9 Sports with Darren Haynes, sponsored by Xfinity.
All right, here's what's on my mind. The Commanders just missed out on 2 premier quarterbacks. Green Bay just gave Aaron Rodgers a big-time deal, and Seattle's trading Russell Wilson to Denver. What makes this so frustrating, this is another whiff for Washington, and I get it, Seattle didn't want to trade Wilson to an NFC team. But Washington said they were going to be aggressive to get a franchise quarterback, and for a second straight year, a quarterback was available, and Washington couldn't make it happen. What's on your mind about the Commanders' QB's issue? Hit me up on social media at Darren M. Haynes. All right, so listen to this unique story. If Bellarmine wins the American Sun Tournament today, Jacksonville State gets the automatic bid despite losing in the semifinals. Well, why? Well, Bellarmine can't play in the NCAA tournament because they're in the NCAA's probation period for teams transitioning to D1. Since JSU is the #1 seed, they get in. Now, this guy, he's from the DMV, and he's a former North Point High School star, Jaylen Gibbs. He plays for JSU. Describe to me the feelings that you're feeling in your team.
I'm the biggest Bellarmine fan right now. You'll find, but as far as basketball, I've been through so much. It would just mean the world to be able to get the chance to play on that big stage that all basketball players wished of when they were kids.
Are you gonna be watching the game?
Nah, I'm gonna get too nervous. So I'm bad luck. So I'm gonna look it up on Google when it's over with.
All right, so this is me, Darren Haynes. This is also Darren Haynes. This guy covers the Calgary Flames. I cover the Washington Capitals. Both teams play each other tonight, so we debate. My name's Darren M. Haynes, and joining me right now is Darren W. Haynes. Why do you think your Calgary Flames will beat our Washington Capitals?
Because they're beating everybody. Maybe it's the altitude. I think Calgary's about 3,500 feet above sea level, and that seems to maybe take some of the wind literally out of the sails of teams coming in.
I'm going to talk to our chief meteorologist to make sure that that wind thing is actually a thing. Our Capitals are going to beat your Flames. Why? Because they won back-to-back games coming off basically two of their strongest wins as of late. They've won 5 of 7 on the road. And looking at your bio, Darren W. Haynes, it says that you're a Nationals fan. Is that correct?
Yeah, originally a Montreal Expos fan that followed the TC.
Well, if you can remember, back in 2019, after the Nationals won the World Series, they celebrated on the ice with the Capitals. And guess who they took on? The Calgary Flames. And who won that game? Washington won 4-2. Here's a fun wager, Darren W. Haynes. If my Capitals beat your Flames, the loser has to change their middle initial on Twitter and keep it there for 24 hours.
I'm down with that.
My man, be prepared to flip your W the right way, where it's an M.
right, Todd, one more look at weather.
Okay, cold rain tomorrow for the most part. May see a snowflake out in Loudoun County, maybe in Frederick, Maryland. And then we have a break on Thursday, Friday, and then rain on Saturday. Could end as snow. It's going to get some kind of cold Saturday night. Look at that temperature, 19.
Into the teens.
Yeah. And we lose an hour, too. It's a 47-hour long weekend.
Why? Just throw it all in there.
Yeah, just the worst day. All right, thanks. Well, that does it for the news at 6. Open Mike with Reese Waters is ahead at 7.
CBS TV News with Nora O'Donnell is next. We'll see you back here at 11.
Nora!
The men?
No, men play on
No,
the third.
the women are done.
already out.
The women are done.
Yeah.
But they'll make the tournament.
I was going to say, they'll make the tournament.
They
Oh,
should be
the
a
women
3
will.
seed.
They have to make the tournament.
I'm going to give you my list because I literally
DC's
put every
faces.
person in our area and like when they're playing and if they're in the category of they have a shot or they have no shot.
I love how we're all just still in place.
If you're a Maryland basketball fan, though, you know how many years we had great teams. We never won the ACC tournament. And there were no at-large bids.
What did you say? One more time.
So in the old days, if you didn't win the tournament, you did not get an NCAA.
Yeah.
There were no at-large bids.
Yeah.
We had phenomenal teams in the 70s, but we would get beaten by Duke or North Carolina.
Wow.
We never got
And
a
then-
bid.
yeah,
We
yeah.
didn't win the tournament. We might have been 20th in the nation.
Yeah, but that, okay.
That was the dumbest thing. Jeez. Not so much Duke. Actually, Duke sucked back.
Sounds like bowl games. Bowls are stupid.
I think I have an ID also.
There's just too much politics involved.
Yeah, that too. All right. I was trying to correct this. For the next Commanders football stadium tonight at WSN exclusive interview with DC Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton. The issues DC will have to overcome to try and land a home field.